One of my favorite preachers, Francis Chan, loves to tell this illustration. He says, what if, as a father, I tell my children to go clean their room? And they're so excited because their dad talks to them and has given them direction, so they couldn't wait to go back to their room and talk about what their father just told them to do. And so they go back and they're talking about what does it mean to clean our room? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What is the original language? Go clean your room. And they study this command and they think about this command and they journal this command and they even invite their friends to come over to the house so that they could study the command and they could quote it back and forth with each other. And what if they do that and they never clean their room? Like, do you think the father would be pleased with that? Of course not, because the command is given so that we can actually put the command into practice. This last study on the book of James, we looked at James chapter 1. And James 1 verse 22, James says, "Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourself." I don't know if you've ever deceived yourself. Maybe you think you're better than you are at a sport, or you sing better than you really do, and it takes someone to come along and say, "Hey, dude, you're actually not very good at that." Well, if you hear the word, but you don't do it, James says you're deceiving yourself. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do it, and James uses a different kind of illustration. He says it's like a man who looks at his face in the mirror, and after looking at himself, he goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like, which is laughable. And so as a Christian, we say we live by God's word. That God's word is our guide and our direction. It communicates to us what God thinks of us and who we are in his image. And so as Christians, we put a priority not only listening to God's word, but we put it into practice. Next week, we're going to talk from James chapter 2, and we're going to talk about just how do we relate to each other? How do we relate with people that are different than us? And practical insights to how to be the church better. Love God, live as a family, go make disciples.